What is? You ready, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I am.
We will call the February 25, 2025 Lower Paxton Township Authority meeting to order. Before the meeting, the authority met in executive session to receive information and legal advice from solicitor and the authority liaison. First item on the agenda, pledge allegiance, and I'll ask Mr. Blaine to lead that.
Everybody please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the first thing on the agenda is the election of chairman of the board. Do I have any nominations for chairman of the board?
I would nominate David Blaine.
Is there a second to that nomination?
Second.
Any discussion? Being that that is the only nomination, do I have a motion to appoint Mr. David Blaine to chairman of this board?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And at this time, I will hand it back to the chairman.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you. And I want to just say first and foremost, thank you again to this board for your confidence in me to be the chair of the municipal authority. I mean, you can't ask for anything more exciting than to be the chair of the municipal authority. Storm and sewer, pretty awesome stuff, right? It is. Yeah, all right, here we go. All right, so next item of business is we will elect different members to as vice chair, secretary, treasurer, assistant secretary, treasurer, the sewer engineer, the storm engineer, and the solicitor. And I'm going to make a sweeping motion to make those appointments, and we'll look for a second. So I am going to make a motion to move it to vice chair, Mr. Judd, secretary, Mr. Ramsey, treasurer, Mr. McCormick, assistant secretary, treasurer, Mr. Pramick, the sewer engineer to be appointed as GHD, the storm engineer to be appointed as HRG, and the solicitor to be appointed as Babst Callan. Any discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the said appointments?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Judd. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McCormick. Any further discussion? Sounds good. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Welcome to your appointments to the board. So thank you very much. I'm having issues here at the computer getting the mouse to work, so not sure why I can't get the anything to get moving here. Larry, can you take a look at that? Can you plug a new one? So, this is part of the beauty of being
The chair.
the chair.
That's right.
That's right.
So Dave, I can just run, I can run.
Yep, why don't you go ahead and run this, so we will go to the next item of business, which will be the HRG rate schedule.
We did that. We're on the minutes.
Okay, we're on to the minutes.
Regular authority meeting. Get to do that.
Wow, see, I would love to get this thing to move down.
Pardon me, Mr.
Great.
Blaine.
Yes,
You have to approve the regular meeting schedule.
yeah, so the regular meeting schedule is going to be approved for the fourth Tuesday in February, May, August, and November. Is that approved by everybody?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Judd. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right. So we just approved the established the regular meeting schedule. I think we're good to go. We can go on to the business of the general authority. First item of business will be public comment. So if it's public comment, it can only be if it's not on the agenda to be covered later on this evening. So the agenda was posted for everybody's review and reading pleasure. But if you have public comment on anything that's not on the agenda this evening, you can feel free to come up to the podium and give your name and address, and you can speak on whatever matter you'd like to speak on. Any public comment? Yes, sir.
I was looking on the minutes. Gotcha. I was looking on the minutes to see if we were listed.
If you can give your name and address.
Dr. Charles Stewart. This is in reference to property 100 Elmwood Drive.
Okay.
Like I said, my name is Dr. Stewart. I'm the chairman of the board and CEO for the Harrisburg Area Police Athletic League. I'm sure you gentlemen are aware of my issue or our problem, being that the property that we obtained had been abandoned for 7 years, I think. And we came in and we took the property, and now we're being charged for back sewer. Sewer runoff? Stormwater runoff. We're getting charged for that. And I don't agree with that. My board doesn't agree with that. We didn't have the property. The township had the opportunity to put a lien on the property, and they didn't. We had 2 lien searches done. One of them cost me $3,000, and nothing came up other than a bill that we had to pay for PP&L at that building. I was going through your minutes of September, when this issue was addressed in September. And there's some things in there in that meeting that bothered me, and I took notes on it. And I also got a note up here that says remain, stay calm. I get excited. I don't get angry. It's all business. I'm not that kind of guy that's going to come up here shouting, screaming, hollering, and all that stuff. I just see things as pretty black and white. Either it's right or it's wrong. I don't have the mental stability to look at that middle part. The one thing that I want to give an understanding of, like I said, when we got the property, there was no liens. If there was a lien on it, we would have addressed it at that time or had a choice on whether or not we wanted to take the property or not. The property was in bad shape, been abandoned for seven years. We spent over $100,000 on that property. And as I've mentioned before, township, we didn't ask you for a dime. We not only spent that money on that property, but we also eliminated the criminal element that was down there. Many a nights I had to get up and go down and get people out of the parking lot, doing various things, drug drop-offs, anything you can imagine. You had a homeless person living in one of the dugouts. Nobody knew that. We had a 13-year-old smoking meth in one of the dugouts that we thought was going to die. So us coming in and obtaining this property, because this is my community too, I've been here for 27 years, I thought it was a good thing. I had an opportunity to take this to other townships, and I did not do that. Had the funding. I wanted to come to my community, to give our youth in this community an opportunity. And like I said, we come in, we do that. We do it in good faith. And during the whole time, we did not know anything about the other people that were in there that left the bill. Excuse me, because it really does upset me and everything, and every moment I have to grab myself. It's just not, it's not right. I have to come in and pay for somebody else's bill because they were negligent in their own effort, and then you're trying to claim it from us. When we had brought you a piece, we had come in, and not only, we improved our community by doing that park, the baseball field, and the building down, because it was a mess. It's an absolute mess. So we got an option right now for us, depending on how the outcome of this is going to be, on whether or not we're going to, I love my community, but I want to sell that piece of property and move on. Because I don't think it's fair that we have to be charged for somebody else's mess. And I don't think it's fair that you guys failed to put a lien on the property. Then we would have known ahead of time, we would have had a choice. By you not doing that, you took away our choice. So that is about as far as I want to go. I wish I was here on that September meeting to address some of these other issues I have, but as you can see, I highlighted a whole bunch of stuff. Because some of this stuff is just not right. We did not, when we got our deed, we did not get a bill for this. In here it says the bill was issued to the previous owners. You guys don't even know who the previous owner is. I spent 2 years, my wife and I spent 2 years doing an investigation to find out who owned that property. I made numerous trips here and nobody knew who that owned that property. Nobody knew anything. When that bill was sent out, it was sent out to Harrisburg Area Police Athletic League. We weren't the previous owners, we were the new owners. And it was sent to our mailbox as soon as that deed got in. And that was the time, at that time, was when we were made aware of the fact that there was a bill. Because it didn't show up in any title searches or anything, of which, again, I paid for to do that. It's one of the things our board wanted me to do. Our board, I'm the chairman of the board. One thing we wanted to do is to make sure we weren't going to run into no headaches. You know, we reconnected that building. All life was cut off from that building. Wires were cut and all this stuff. It was an absolute mess. And it was a hindrance to this community. My kids played baseball up there. They grew up in this neighborhood. And for us to have an opportunity to bring it back to the youth of our community, it was amazing. And it was the fact that I could get enough funding to bring it back was amazing. So that's my speech, and I'll stick to it. But I'm pretty set on the fact that I'm not going to pay it. So if we have to go to court, gentlemen, we'll just go to court. And if a judge orders me to pay it, I will pay it. Thank you. Any questions for me?
Any questions?
Any questions at all? Because there was a lot of questions in there, Mr. Miller. There's a lot of comments from you in here that you had some questions. No questions for me today?
I'm not sure what you mean in relation to questions. I know Dr. Stewart, with regards to the, had a lien been in place, it would have been over $10,000. Would you have not acquired that property? Is that what you're saying tonight?
Probably not.
Okay.
With the condition it was in, probably not. We were probably taking it somewhere else if it was over $10,000. If it was $1,200, somewhere around there, yes. Even if I'd known about it, I would have been able to take that to my board. I don't make the decisions. I got a board.
And I understand that completely. And a title search, as you noted, it would find a lien. But
Right.
typically with the normal process of property transfer, title search would cover lien, and then the settlement agency would contact all regional municipalities for current due bills.
Yes, sir.
Which, had that process been done, we would have been able to respond then, at that time, that it was over $10,000. After we were aware of your acquisition, which we were made aware of and we updated in the office. So we didn't change to your ownership until you essentially told us, because
Okay.
there wasn't a transfer process that happened like it typically does with a sale.
Right. Excuse me for a second. We hired a Jeanette Pennington from Simple Home Settlements, LLC. According to her, she contacted people here twice. I got an email where she had indicated to me that she contacted them twice. That's part of that $3,000 I made. So I don't know what that conversation was. I tried to email her tonight to get her here, but I had to leave a message for her. But she had contacted people here twice. And like I said, for 2 years I came by here and it's the honest truth. My wife and I, we humped and humped, and nobody knew anything about the building. That wasn't even an address on the building. I had to go through Washington, D.C., to Pittsburgh, back to Washington, D.C., to Harrisburg, and then back to Pittsburgh just to get the 100 Elmwood Drive back. So it's just...
Just a comment on that.
Yes, sir.
Before Sam took over the billing, our staff did that. And I can tell you, Raftelis was our engineer, and what they did is they got all the county records. And whoever owned that parcel of land would have been the information we got from our our billing software company through the county. So you don't have to have a house number to get a bill, because under stormwater, it's a parcel that has impervious surface over 340 square feet. That's the billing resolution. And the reason it wasn't leaned is we had just taken over stormwater. For sanitary sewer, we had a debt collector. And when you get a large debt, the first thing they do is lien it, and then they execute the lien and sell the property. That didn't get to that level on stormwater side, because we had just started doing stormwater billing, and that particular parcel was complicated. So, and our handover from the billing debt collector was in process. So I just wanted to give you a little background about why we billed the owner we billed and why it wasn't leaned.
But your failure, by you guys not putting a lien on it, limited our decision-making process.
Right. I understand.
Yeah.
That's
So
that is
wasn't-
one of the tricks with the quick claim process. It can be tough.
Yeah.
It can be tough.
Yeah.
But Dr. Stewart,
Yes, sir.
and I didn't note in my letter, but it had come up in discussion when we've reviewed the matter since you've come to the Township Supervisor Board. Have you had any discussions with the pool? Because as I understand, a lot of your impervious and probably most of those bills are associated with parking that the pool utilizes, which is on your property. Is that correct?
Yes, well, yes, they do park onto my property, yes.
That might be something to talk with them, because really, if you take that parking lot out of the mix, your impervious area is much less.
Trust me, you'd rather talk to me right now than Patrice. Because you don't want to, you'd rather talk to me than Patrice, because she's angry. I'm not angry. It's business for me. It is our property. And one other issue I just want to bring in, it's not notification from the billing that's a concern to me. It's not. It's a concern that I got the bill. That's the concern, that I even got the bill at all. As far as my understanding that my road ends at the curve. Township stops there. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with Elmwood Drive, but you go Elmwood Drive and it curves down into the hole. Elmwood ends right there, from what I've been told, because I don't get township services. Even when it snowed, I couldn't get into my office, and I tried to get the snow plows to go in, and nobody even returned my call. So I had to pay for that service. So if that's my property, then I'm going to limit access to my property because it's mine. I have the township trucks come down there. I have them parking down there. I thank God I got the police come down, which we don't mind. Actually, they helped us eliminate that bad element. You guys have no idea what element was down there. None. So it helped us get rid of that bad element, but if I'm not going to get any service down there, then you're just tearing up my parking lot by bringing trucks down there. One time, last snow day, last year, your trucks were plowing snow and putting it right in the end of our lot, right in the middle of our lot. And I went to them and I explained things to them and they moved it. But every time a truck comes down there, it tears up that parking lot more. And evidently over the years, according to Patrice, that's been an issue about who's going to repair it and this and that. Okay, well, I've never come here and told you guys I wanted it repaired. I never come to ask you for anything, not one dime, not one. I'm trying to do everything ourselves, and we write grants. I write my own grants to do that property because I do it for our youth. But this paying a back bill on somebody that was in there, and I don't know if you're aware of the previous person that was even in the building. He was some minister that ended up going to prison because he's down there hacking people for money. When we go down there, we found all his letters saying, one letter even stated, I'm out in the parking lot waiting on you to come out because you owe me $12,000. So that's the kind of stuff we deal with down there. And he didn't pay his stuff, and I'm not going to pay it for that person. I was getting ready to call him a clown. I shouldn't do that. I should maintain my professionalism. But he milked the township. Nobody came after him at all. But you come after us, and we're doing good. And we're going to continue to do good, hopefully. With or without your help. or we'll do it in my township or we'll do it in somebody else's. I prefer it be ours.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, hearing no more public comment, any board member comments? No board member comments? Okay, we'll go on to approval of the minutes from the November 26, 2024 meeting. I think everybody had a chance to see those minutes. Is there any questions about those minutes? Any adjustments, any changes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes? So moved by Mr. Judd. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McCormick. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, sanitary sewer fund, new business, public meeting results for the Wilshire Road Sewer Extension Project. I'll turn that over to you, Melissa.
All right, thank you, and thank you. I appreciate the reappointment. So I have a memo to the board that pretty much discusses the meeting that we had with the public on January 29th. As you guys probably remember, on the November meeting, we had brought up the request from the homeowners for public sanitary sewer on Wilshire Road. There are 12 homes and one empty lot there that are served by on-lot septic systems. And a number of people had come in and made some inquiries about public sanitary sewer service since their on-lot septic systems are having some issues. So at the board's request, we had a meeting with everybody to kind of explain the situation, explain the costs that are associated with extending sanitary sewer service. So we went over the front foot assessment, the tapping fee cost, the fact that this would be a low pressure sewer system because you can't get gravity in that location. So they would also need a grinder pump, and then abandoning the septic system and rerouting their plumbing to tie into the grinder pump, along with the quarterly sewer bills that would be associated with public sanitary sewer service. So we met with them. We did a presentation. A copy of that is in your package for you guys to look at. And the homeowners had some questions. They had some concerns with the cost of the extension and what it would be for each of the properties. So they were going through some of the concerns with the cost and everything. Like I said, we summarized all that in the memo here for you. And then we have the cost that are outlined for each of the property owners. Yeah, I think Bill's going down through the different tables for how much it would cost if the authority extended the sanitary sewer and or installed the grinder pumps. We also reached out about a small water grant. Obviously, that's something we can put together for you. If we were to get that grant could cover the cost of the front foot assessments, because the grant would essentially pay for the construction and design of that. I have a proposal in to put that together. Now, there's no guarantees for the grant, obviously, but I think with the story behind some of these property owners and the size of their lots and things and the problems they've been associated with the on-lot septic systems, that there's a chance that could get awarded. The application would need to be put in by April 30th.
Melissa, just wanted to point out to the chairman and the board members that is on next item on the agenda, but you can do those together. The summary of Melissa's neighborhood meeting and her proposal, you can move on to the proposal at any time and act on that at the same time. Just wanted to point that out.
It says Bill's showing there's the lots for each, or the dollar amount for connecting to the sewer system shown. So obviously the homeowners, I don't want to say we're against the project. That's one of the things, we went over with them. If everybody, or I think it was half of the property owners were on board, we were going to suggest moving forward. But if you didn't get half, we were going to suggest not to, just because if sewer is extended in front of your property, you have the ordinance that you have to connect. So we wanted to have at least the majority of people that were on board with it. I think we had 4 or 5 different homeowners. There were couples and things there that attended the meeting, and it seemed to be a consensus, at least from the ones that were there, that they would like to move forward with it.
So the bottom line is, right now, there is the ability for a grant that could cover, if I understood it correctly, it would cover $300,000 or something of that nature related to this project, and that we would need to first go and apply for the grant, see if we got the grant. So that's kind of where we're at with this whole process in regards to what is in the, what makes the most sense in regards to, there's availability of funds out there. Let's go and try to get these funds to try to offset the majority of the cost of this program.
Agreed. The grant, there's a 15% match too for the grant.
Right, so the township would have a 15% match, which would be whatever is that $50,000, I think we talked about it being something like that, right?
Yes.
Just a couple other comments, board members. If you approve the grant application, you're not approving the project.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, we're approving to do the grant application to see if we can get the money.
Yeah, if you get the grant, it'll come back to the authority. If the authority then approves it, then the supervisors have to approve it.
Right.
And then they'll have to address the mandatory connection of the people, because once you get the grant, then you have to do the whole project, which is all 12 grinder pumps and the stub for the vacant lot. So your commitment, if you go ahead, that we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but that would be the match that you commit to, the $56,000 in the match, and that could be more of a commitment in terms of construction if Melissa is offered 20% contingency. The project is at 368. It is a small job, so the bids do fluctuate. Melissa's usually within 1%, all the bids that she's done I've seen in the last 20 years. So if you get the grant and you do bid it, that would be the only other risk, because once you get the grant, you're doing the job. So that's just my comments from staff. If there's no questions, then I would recommend the board consider GHD's recommendation to move ahead with the grant, which is in your packet. You want to go over that a little bit, Melissa, real quick?
Sure. Let me pull that up here.
Oh, it's on the next one. That's forgot. It's not this different agenda item.
Yeah, so the grant would be the PA Small Water and Sewer Grant, which covers projects that are between 30,000 and I think 500,000. And like I said, there's a 15% eligibility match that goes along with that. We have to go through, and there's like a checklist of things that need to be included with it. And the main thing is the project description. So to be more competitive for all these grants, you got to write a nice project description, what the need is, how it's affecting your community. And like I said, with this one, I think, we can write a pretty good narrative, or pretty good story around why, this grant should be granted to the homeowners. So the application is really just the story, the mapping, the cost estimate, and they do suggest getting some letters of support from local politicians and things. So we could reach out for that as well.
Okay. Seems pretty straightforward
Yeah.
to do the grant application. I was just looking at some of the scope of work requirements and that kind of stuff. Doesn't look like it's anything that's out of the ordinary, right?
No.
So,
no.
okay. Is there any questions from any of the board members on this grant application and moving forward with having GHD prepare this grant application to see if we can't fund this project? Okay. If there's no questions, is there a motion to approve GHD to prepare the grant?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Pramick. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Judd. Any further discussion? I think we do by voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Okay, we'll let GHD go ahead and get that prepared. How quickly do you think you could prepare that and get that done? I know you have other things on your plate, so just,
Well,
it's like
we-
asking an accountant during tax season, hey, you know?
We will get it done before the April 30th
All
deadline.
right,
so.
okay. Thank you. Okay. Dedication of developer-installed sewers. Back to you, Ms. Smith.
Before we go on, I don't know if anybody, because I recognize some of the public they're here from Wilshire. I didn't know if anybody wanted to say anything.
Okay,
Okay.
there we go. That's awesome.
I just didn't want to, I wanted to make sure everybody had their time if they wanted it.
We've had a lot of public comment here in the past month, so.
Yes.
All right, anyways. All right, let's
Okay.
move on here to the developer dedication memo from Ms. Smith.
All right, so we've got a couple developments that have finished up and have gone through either the full closeout procedures or are close enough that I wanted to bring it to the board. Let me open this, I can't see that far.
Wilshire Estates, Phase 2C, Nestle Run, Parkway Farms, Elizabeth Village.
All right, so most of these, like I have listed here, what's been done, thank you. I'm getting old, Bill, I can't see that well anymore. Wilshire Estates Phase 2, all the legal descriptions and plats and documents and things to get dedicated along with the record drawings have been submitted. I have the maintenance bonds outstanding, but we actually got that this week. So that one, everything is in hand. Nestle Run, pretty much everything's in hand on that one too. We got the maintenance bond for that one this week as well. That one, there's a couple caveats. We'd like to get the sewers dedicated just because, they're gonna start building homes and things there. There is a drivable surface that's still outstanding for that one that, we're holding some escrow money back for. And that's just so that, the staff has, a nice surface that they can get back to the sewers that are behind some of the homes. Because that area is kind of wet. There's some wetlands and things, and the sewers go around there. So we just wanted to make sure that they have access to get back there without getting their trucks stuck in people's yards. So that we have listed, like I said, we're holding some escrow back for it. And there's a couple manholes where they did not put in the Sika guard, like an epoxy coating in. And we told them they're gonna have to retest everything after the pavement's 100% complete. So. Again, that one, there's just a couple little items that are still outstanding, but we're holding some escrow instead of returning it now until those are done. Parkway Farms Phase 2, the record drawing, this is the one that's kind of like the least far along. I don't have record drawings for that yet, or the maintenance bond, and the plats and legal descriptions are currently being prepared. I had some comments on those. So that would be one where we would suggest approving it conditionally. And then Elizabeth Village, Phase 1. Again, the sewers are in. I think I am waiting for a maintenance bond on that one. And what else? Oh, there's a,
That's it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Board members, as Melissa's pointed out there, since we only meet quarterly, these items are typically provided by the developer in due fashion, but it's just better to get these projects done because other ones stack up. So we don't want to come to you with 15 developments. So all these developments can be approved conditionally. We won't record the dedication documents until
All
all
the
these
items are in hand.
items are in our possession. So staff recommends that the board conditionally accept dedication of the 4 developments as presented by the engineer. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions from any of the board members? Is there a motion to approve the developer dedication of the items that were just listed?
The conditional? Yes, so moved.
From Mr. McCormick, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Pramick. Any further discussion? Is it Mr. Ramsey? Sorry. All right. If there's no further discussion, I think we do this by voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, township reports. Turn it over to you, Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We're very busy in our consent order sanitary sewer construction projects, as you're well aware. BC7, that project is 100% complete for sewer. We have some remaining stormwater. It's been a tremendous success. We have already gotten the meter data back, and we have received 100% I&I removal. There was a delay because of the storm sewer work on Kenwood and Cloverdale, and we met today with the contractor, and Melissa and HRG are working in tandem because they each were the engineer on the project. Melissa and GHD for sewer, Jason and HRG for storm. They requested the contractor to provide a final time extension request to complete the storm sewer. They can now do that because PP&L has provided a date of April 1st where they can be on location to get the electrical wires out of the way so the storm sewer can be installed. That was the delay in finishing the project. There's also concrete ramp restoration, 11 ADA ramps remaining, some curbing, and then all the final overlay for those sections. So we anticipate the project to be over sometime at the end of May, but the engineer and the contractor have to agree on time extension, and the contractor has to provide us a time extension request. Do you want to add anything to that? Moving on to Claremont. Any questions on BC7 before I move on?
Nope.
So Claremont, that project just started in November 1st. That's also Dolly. That is 32% complete for sewer. They have a pretty sizable punch list generated because, again, when you work through the winter and you can't do curb and yards, and they just keep on going at tremendous speed. And so we had a meeting today with them on that project as well, because in the spec it requires after they have 4,000 feet or more of pipe installed, they have to fall back and start working on the restoration. They've agreed to do that. They indicated today that they have one mainline crew and 4 lateral crews and a miscellaneous crew. They're going to take the 2 lateral crews tomorrow, move back and start yard restoration, and the other 2 lateral crews are going to roll back in 2 weeks to start working on curbing. And then base paving of the busy Colonial Club Drive will be done sometime in April. So that is really our report right now. That project, again, is 32% complete. They're on schedule. That in the first 4 months, it's a 12-month job. So if they keep going at 32% every 4 months, they should get done on time by the end of 2025. Any questions on Claremont?
Nope. Mr. McCormick, any questions on Claremont? That's your stomping grounds, isn't it?
Yes, yes. I'll probably have more questions as I see the progress being made. but
Okay,
right
there we
now,
go.
no.
A PC2E, this was not a mini basin project. This was added on, as you may recall, a homeowner saw a manhole overflowing in their backyard, reported it, and we discovered that there's significant infiltration coming into this interceptor line just north of Linglestown Road. That project was bid and awarded to Pack Construction. They started in January. They have pipe progressing through the right-of-way. They now have to do 2 creek crossings. Unfortunately, on Wednesday of next week, they have to shut down Blue Mountain Parkway for 3 days. And we have a detour set up. We have the sign set up. And I'm also sending to Triple Crown the information because they do own 90 of the units in Blue Meadow Farms. So the detour doesn't take them all the way around the mountain, but it does take them down around the circle there for those 3 days. So we expect that project to be done at the end of April is the schedule. Any questions on PC2E? So we have a pretty busy construction here for sewer. Sweat Dryer project, as the board may recall, we had a meeting every year with Sweat to go over capital projects. we have now intensified that, and they have been gracious enough to start a budget committee for the Township Authority. And Sam and I are on that committee, so we've been meeting with them quarterly to go over their quarterly operation and maintenance expenses and also the progress of their capital program. Right now, the dryer is proceeding very well. They expect to have it done by the end of May, early June. And the annual audit that was done for 2024 was good. We got money back. And unfortunately, we have to give it right back to them for the dryer. But so far, the status of the dryer in the plant is in good order there. So just good news so far. Any questions on SWAT error? Nope. If not, moving on to CRW. As the board may recall, CRW has been implementing rate increases for the last 2 years, which the authority has not agreed to pay because they have not provided us a wholesale rate that is agreeable to our wholesale rate consultant. So we are making progress. They do have a full-time solicitor now and our special counsel, and we are having some meetings over the last few months, and we're going to have some meetings this week and in March, and hopefully it progresses to what we're asking for is a wholesale rate study be done by their consultant or their consultant that they choose that we end up paying for in any event. We're struggling right now with them wanting to do it at staff level and not wanting to use a third-party consultant. So we will be reporting back to the board on that in May. That concludes my report, and I'll turn it over to Larry, who has a report on the crew status.
Good evening, everybody. So as you remember from the last meeting in 2024, we were very busy, had a long list of projects to take care of, and we were able to finish those at the end of the year. Now 2025 brings in a whole new plethora of projects to try to take care of. We started out January and February very busy with a lot of sewer-related projects. There's not only issues within these large project areas that need to be addressed, there's also external issues that our crew has been tasked with addressing as we move along throughout the year. So as you can see, those are the ones in green. I'll cover the blue ones in the stormwater section of the report. But the ones in green we kept busy on with some sewer repairs on Berry Hill. Over here in the Colonial Park neighborhood, there was an issue with a manhole settling. Flank Drive was another major project we took on with some settlement issues with the pipe, with sagging and everything. So we were able to come through, and in that 2-week period, we were able to repair the line, bring everything back to a restored state, and move on to the next project. That brings us into an emergency repair that popped up in the Forest Hills neighborhood. Melbourne Drive, if anyone's familiar with that neighborhood, small sinkhole opened up in that road. That constituted an emergency repair, which we were able to take care of in a very timely manner, and got that road reopened and restored it and brought it back to normal. That is going to be a topic for a future stormwater project. That'll come as we move forward with that. Some other external repairs existed, one on Berkeley, one on Collingswood. And after all those projects were completed, we were able to move on to our next operation, which will be covered in the stormwater report. But if you scroll down to the very last page, I just kind of wanted to represent what 2025 has planned for us and even going into 2026. As you can see, we accomplished all of our tasks from 2024. All our tasks are accomplished from 2024 with the check marks. In 2025, we do have some more external repair issues to take care of. Also, we're getting into the season of the paving contract. That'll be happening here probably in June, July. Before those project areas and those roads are repaved, we will be covering some stormwater and some sanitary repairs that our crew TV'd in-house, and we're going to address those so that once the road's paved, there's no issues underneath it that would require that road to then be dug up. So that's the plan moving forward through the year. Does anyone have questions?
Can you explain the color coding a little bit there, Larry?
Yes.
The color coding.
To try to make this easy so it's not just some X's and black and white, I try to make a kind of a color coding chart to essentially address how we'll operate as the crew moving forward scheduling. We can kind of ignore BC7 since we're done with that part. That was in purple. The red constitutes the non-consent degree stormwater work. So that's anything outside the project area. So that would include There's not a lot of that this year due to the extent of Claremont, but as you can see in 2026, or in 2024, we finished a lot of that. Next up in green, just green went with sewer. That was the external repair works. That would include Berkeley, Flake Drive, the Collingswood areas. Just a simple way to represent that. Moving down, we have to match again stormwater. We did in blue for the Claremont area, which is pretty much going to take up the majority of 2025. Our crew has about 4,000 feet of pipe to lay into that whole project. Moving along, we have some future design work. That's what I was talking about with Forest Hills. There's some potholing that needs to be done there to address where utilities sit, so we can hopefully not run into some of these issues we faced in BC7. And also we have another large project coming up at the end of this year, beginning next year with Mountain View Acres. That's been the topic of a paving area as well as an issue with stormwater. So we're looking to address that at the end of this year, beginning next year. And beyond that, I have some of the light blue and light green to represent the paving contracts, just to show you where we'll be operating to try to get those roads patched up in time so that they can get done appropriately.
All right. Nice. Well done. Any questions on the schedule here?
Just again, board members, I just want to keep repeating this as often as I can. Is these repairs that were done by Larry and the crew in January and February saved thousands and thousands, probably up over 100,000. We're probably approaching in the first quarter, and we'll start getting some of that data to you. These are basically sewer blockages that Jim found and the staff that we went out and basically would normally send out to an emergency contract with Rogel, and that gets T&M, and you're talking big bucks. And having the crew now being able to go deeper, we will have to buy a bigger trench box next year for the sewers. We've been renting one, but next year we'll be buying a trench box. Other than that, they have all the equipment they need to do sewer work. I never liked the idea of them doing deep work. We still try to minimize for safety. We don't want them going down 20, 30 feet. So Larry and the crew look at, a safe limit. Right now, I think we haven't been more than 12.
The 10 to 15 foot range is what we've been trying to stay in. That requires a trench box. Pretty much anything that passes your waist level requires a trench box. And once you get past that, that's when you start need to look at more complex situations for the digging and the safety of the crew. So that's the kind of the range we try to keep them in to make sure everyone stays safe at the end of the day, because that's a big part.
So when you see their schedule that Larry has been juggling for quite some time and all these colors, when you're really good at something, then people keep giving you more work to do. So we had a problem where we couldn't get him enough work because we couldn't do the designs quick enough, and we couldn't. So having Larry has been a huge help because he coordinates all this effort. And then he keeps the crew working every day. That's important. But then with their skill level, it's just like this crew will be busy until the end of time.
You can see there's a lot of overlap in the colors, so we got our work made out for us, but we're going to hit the ground running and try not to fail. We're going to make it work.
And they're doing all this with being short a man, so that's even we're having trouble finding a replacement for the last retirement. So.
Please pass on our appreciation.
Will do, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Miller, do you want to talk about the financial report?
I'll give a real quick overview, Chairman Blaine, just
Looks
because
good.
we're sitting at a preliminary year end.
Yeah, it looks good.
We have auditors on site. Auditors are auditing the authority as part of the township books. So again, just real high level. All of our fund presentations are broken into two chunks, operational piece and capital piece. Operational in the sewer, we had a budget expectation to use 1.1 million of our reserves. However, the finished results are an actual $297,000 addition to reserves. A lot of that ties in with a couple pieces I'll hit here, but as Bill noted, we did have some staff vacancies from some retirements and some positions that took a little creativity to fill during the year. In relation to the revenues, about $500,000 above budget, and most of that was in interest earnings. We kind of projected those to tailor off as predicted federal rate cuts were set to happen. Some of those were kind of pushed down the line a little bit, and generating the additional reserves this year allowed us to invest a little bit more. So those were very positive for us, about $340,000 of that. In relation to expenses, we were just under $900,000 to the good against budget. A big chunk of that, about 700,000, the majority of it ties in with our transmission costs. So obviously, we don't treat our sewer locally. We send it to CRW, we send it to Swatera. In relation to that, we did have reductions as Mr. Weaver had noted, in relation to Swatera. They had their 2023, not 2024, 2023 audit bill. And
It was 23?
it was 23, yeah. And they did have very positive returns on the utilization of the budget, which hopefully means we'll be looking at the same here in 24 when they close that out as well. But that was about 280,000 of the good. And in addition to that, we had CRW was less than expected. And the bigger key there was in relation to the funding through our billing, they had built some reserves from what we had given them, so they hadn't spent it. So we essentially have a reserve with CRW going into the end of the year for items not used. So set us about roughly 24 million in ending cash of where we're looking. Again, that's better than our budget rate models have predicted. So again, it's putting us in a good position. We do have a heck of a lot of capital activity, as Mr. Weaver had noted, and a lot of that had shifted from the budgetary capital plan for sewer from this year. So capital spending was down quite a bit versus what we expected, but it's really just a shift to this new year. So again, everything stays in review there in relation to when our next bond issuance is going to be necessary to kind of keep the projects rolling here as we aim towards some of these major closeouts for the consent decrees. I'll be happy to answer any further questions.
Any questions from board members? Things look very good. We stayed within budget on a lot of our expenses. Obviously, we did better on payroll than we thought we would. Interest earnings were nice. So, no, I don't think there's any other questions. I think we can move on. All right, let's move on to the stormwater fund. And there's no items for action, just other than reports. So we'll go to the stormwater reports and turn it over to you again there, Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. We have a new draft DEP MS4 permit that we received this week. It's 70-plus pages. I don't intend to go through the whole thing. We will provide a summary. DEP had to put out new general permits and new guidelines. Our permit is an individual permit. So this is an individual permit renewal, but our permit that we had expired or is due to expire July of 2025. So this permit is being issued into draft form in anticipation of that permit expiring in July. We have 30 days to provide public comment, so we will be meeting with our solicitor. Actually has some environmental attorneys that can help us with this. So this permit will extend our current permit because these new guidelines that I'm going to scroll all the way down to are the more important item. So this is a bulletin publication that was posted by DEP. We have until March 19th to provide comments. It was guided by a work group the department convened. The HRG participated in that, and I'm sure Jason can add some information. The department is proposing to require MS4s to complete what's called now a maximum extent practical calculator. And this calculator will include a lot of things. It's going to include socio-economical characteristics, the feasibility of your volume management plan. Essentially, the calculator will spit out a volume management objective. And the whole key to this program is that you have so many square miles of impervious surface that's been treated since you've had stormwater ordinance, but you have a lot more that has not been treated because stormwater ordinances have not been around that long. We'll have to track down all these BMPs, but this calculator essentially will tell you how much of this impervious surface that's not currently being treated will have to be treated. And right now, DEP is giving us 50 years, which is a great deal for us. We don't know the cost yet on an annual basis or for this permit cycle. We're meeting with Jason tomorrow. The calculator has some issues, so it may be some time until we can run it. We're going to discuss whether it pays to have Jason run it now anyway, just to get some feel. But there's some problems with the calculator that we found. The bigger issue for us is the department is also proposing changes to the TMDL. So our MS4 permit requires a total maximum daily load. So the department is proposing to update the causes of impairment to Paxton Creek from nutrients or sediment to include turbidity, total suspended solids, siltation, algae, eutrophication, nutrients, flow regime modification, and habitat alterations. That's a mouthful. So there's some concern here because that's a lot of new criteria. Again, we went to have an environmental attorney to meet with DEP's attorney to understand these things. I don't think it's going to get to the level of litigation like it did the last time, but the concern is that there's costs associated with this TMDL. In the first round, you may recall our reports that we saved about $4 or $5 million, Lower Paxton. Our estimate by HRG is around $7 million, and we spent about $2.5 million because we partnered with PennDOT and CRW. With this new volume control and how the TMDL is going to layer on top of that. So you have the volume control that's presented up above, but then we have an independent TMDL that we have to meet. So we have double trouble, so to speak. Our case right now is that we already did the TMDL, and the TMDL shouldn't be needed anymore. But DEP has been saying that you have to delist the stream, which is problematic. So this will be going on for quite some time. It's going to require a lot of engineering and legal assistance and meetings with DEP. I don't anticipate the TMDL criteria to be out for a few years. So we'll be giving reports each quarter as we get new information. So we will be preparing for the township. The authority, again, funds the program. The township is the permittee, and we have written comment deadlines for March 19th. We will be working with our engineer and solicitor to prepare this. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Weaver? Mr. Weaver, that was impressive. Rolled right through that.
We
Anything
did.
else? Anything else you want to add, Mr. Weaver?
I just want to, Larry, does the board need to see anything else on their crew? I think we summed that up
Yeah, I
pretty
think
well.
we just covered that, right?
Yeah, the
I
storm.
have nothing else unless you guys have any questions.
And then the 2025 budget.
Yeah, let's pull that up right now.
I don't have anything in writing in there for that. What I wanted to just provide a brief verbal because there is so much information. Although these 14 projects are very small, they're time consuming for staff and the engineer. There's quite a few. So we'll be providing in the future quarterly reports. Jason will provide in his engineer's report a little bit about them. But from the township side, we will start, because stormwater is becoming more of a capital fund projects. We want to provide information to the board on a quarterly basis. Right now, the only report I have for you is that the Friendship Basin is far enough that we're actually opening bids tomorrow. Is that still on schedule, Jason?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So we'll be providing reports as we move along, but we have 14 projects that HRG and staff are working on. If there's no more questions, I'll turn it over to Sam for the quarterly financial report.
I just pulled up the quarterly financial report for the storm sewer fund. It looks like it's the regular sanitary sewer
Oh, you're right.
fund
How'd that
numbers.
get there? Let's see here. Well, I apologize, board members. It appears that we have the sewer fund posted twice, and I didn't catch that. My apologies. You want to just give a brief overview?
Yeah, I certainly can. Visualize this. Again, a similar structure to the sewer fund, a lot less accounts just because sewer fund has been in operation for a much longer time. On the revenue side, we had budgeted out about $3.56 million, and we're projecting to come in at $3.75. Very close to last year, so again, the budget's a little conservative, but a good increase in relation to vested earnings and general fee revenues are pretty pretty stagnant, I guess you'd say. Slightly behind where they were last year, but we expect it to grow in the years to come by small amounts. On the operational expenses, about $203,000 good to the budget. And a big key there was the administrative charges were significantly down. As noted, there were several vacancies in the team, currently one working on being filled, and the stormwater crew is working on sewer throughout the year. We're not working on stormwater. Stormwater seemed to post more into the third quarter, into the fourth quarter, where those really started to pick up. So a little bit softer for a chunk of the year, thus less allocated cost to that fund, and then more savings. In the end, roughly about $6.2 million in reserves, slight addition to those reserves in this current year, in relation to the capital projects, not a lot of work there until the end. The third quarter and fourth quarter were pretty busy, as Larry had noted. A lot of work with our engineers to help plan and prepare those projects, and certainly 2025 is going to be a busy year for you guys. In relation to that, as Bill has noted, things are, I guess you would say from a capital perspective, a little calm in stormwater right now, where we have a little bit of reprieve, where it's focusing on sewer and making sure we're lining up our next funding sources for those. But I'll certainly take any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Miller? All right, hearing none, let's go to the engineer's report. How you feeling, Jason? You ready to go?
Feeling good.
Feeling good? How you feel? Okay, I just want
All
to
right.
check in to make sure you're good.
Yeah, and luckily and thankfully for everybody here, a lot of these projects that showed up on our report were already discussed. I think just a few things that I may want to add in relation to the MS4 discussion. I did just want to remind everybody that the draft documents that are out there now are related to the general permit. The township falls under the individual permit. We do expect that those requirements are going to be fairly similar, but there may be some differences once the final versions are available from DEP. In terms of projects that are ongoing, Bill mentioned the Friendship YMCA Stormwater Basin project. That one, in addition to several of these other water quality related projects, we do feel will benefit the township when it comes time to run that calculator that Bill alluded to before, and hopefully lessen the amount of projects that have to be done to satisfy any of those requirements down the road. So I think we are on track to do some good work with those. Aside from that, I think the majority of everything else was either discussed earlier or summarized pretty well in the report. So I'll just open it up to any questions that the board may have.
Any questions by board members? Seems like a very thorough, complete report. I assume everybody had a chance to read this, right? Okay. Any questions?
Well, just overall with these changes that are coming, so I hear that it sounds like we'll handle them rather well, because it is somewhat, I mean, it looks like that they're shifting from each individual sediment, like overall volume that we can, and we have to calculate what we can expected to realistically, volume-wise, prevent, the runoff we can prevent. So on the grand scheme of things, I'm hearing that it'll require some changes, but that we're confident that we can manage it.
Yeah, I think the township is in a good position to continue to comply with the requirements of the permit. And from a day-to-day perspective, the tasks that staff are involved in, they'll still need to stay involved with those. Those things aren't changing. I think the big change is, like Bill mentioned before, this philosophy of going from a sediment removal type
Right.
of approach to now a volume management type of approach. Essentially, at the end of the day, we're trying to accomplish the same thing by enhancing water quality within the streams.
And if you reduce the
ultimately-
volume, you you're going to reduce the sediment.
Right. Yep,
But,
the sediment, the pollutants that get in the runoff stream and ultimately reach
Just-
those
Just
waterways.
to comment on that. So both methods, they started out with the sediment, now it's volume. It's called a presumptive approach. The presumptive approach means that if you reduce the volume, you're also reducing pollutants. So they're not specifying you got to remove nitrogen, phosphorus, all that.
Right.
We have this TMDL. We're assuming for now, it's dangerous to assume, right, that they're going to use the presumptive approach on the TMDL as well, and that the volume control will filter into our general permit requirements, even though we have this individual permit. That's what happened on the first round. We had a TMDL, and we had the Bay general permit criteria, and you just kind of merged them, but we had to do more because we have a TMDL. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so this volume thing now, we're really nervous that, this TMDL is still going to be okay, that we can do this volume management. It all makes sense. I mean, because you have water right now that's getting into a stream that's not being controlled. So there's sediment pollution there in
And
theory.
is this just Pennsylvania, or is this a nationwide trend? This is coming from our DEP, but
Right.
these are national standards, national permit. So
Yeah.
is this a national trend, or is this just
Well,
our
the-
state?
Yeah, these requirements and this criteria is just specific to the state. Bigger picture, the EPA are the ones who administer.
Right, but I mean, are other states making this shift, or do you know of, or I
No, I haven't heard that Maryland, Virginia are kind of following the same type of approach. They may be.
Yeah. Okay.
The only thing that we question right now, or the socio-economical, doesn't benefit us. So the calculator is not going to run great for us because we're a fluid community and we have cash in the bank, but we do have some debt. The troubling thing for me under this comment that we're going to make is they have the public roads in there, which weren't in there before. So the public roads, they don't get treated, and they go into creeks all over the township. We have miles and miles of public
That's
roads.
a big deal.
Yes. So that right now, according to how they have it written, it could have been a typo, but it appears that they're included in your impervious area, which we need to get that out.
Yeah, I suspect that to be a pretty common comment that
Yeah.
they receive. So
Yeah.
hopefully they'll take that to heart. And you mentioned the economic justice part of this bill. Just to make sure everybody's aware, there's also a lot of incentives to continue with regional collaboration. Like on the TMDL, you guys collaborated with CRW and Susquehanna, and I think that was a success. I think they looked at that as a model and are trying to encourage other municipalities to work together to try and meet these requirements.
Okay. Any other questions?
Oh, just final thing. I think we're trying to get a legislative get-together coming up soon, I think, with our legislative folks. Will you guys be represented all, or should we bring some of these? This is a good time to talk to state lawmakers about things we're concerned about and these proposed changes. Were you guys planning on being there, or is that something that we should? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
I have no plans right now because we're still digesting
Right.
the new criteria,
Yeah.
so we're not that far. But normally we would engage our professional associations, who then, as a larger group, engage the legislature. So
Okay.
we have the Pennsylvania Municipal Authorities Association, PSATs, and we have PWE, which is Pennsylvania Water Environment. So these larger agencies usually run that machine for us.
Okay. Well, maybe we can hit up the
Yep.
locals. Okay.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, just a
Yeah,
quick
go ahead.
question.
Yeah.
If this roads are being added as impervious, and it is statewide, what's the total dollar impact of that change? It seems to me that could be a significant amount of money. Does anybody have any idea?
Well, we don't, because we can't run the calculator until they correct some of the math that's incorrect in there. But the good news is, over 50 years now, that spreads it so far out But we're going to get that math to you here in the next year.
Okay, thank
So
you.
but the road, we hope, gets removed.
I'm assuming that state-owned roads in the township will fall under our purview.
It's a state reg, so the state roads are exempt.
Yeah, okay. But we still get the water.
You're absolutely right, we do. And they actually tell us that we own the storm sewer in the state road as well, but that's a whole nother meeting.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, two matters before we go to adjournment. Number one, I was remiss at the very start of this meeting to welcome Tim Pramick to the board. Tim was appointed to the board to fill the vacancy in Norm Zumas. So I just want to say first and foremost, Tim, welcome to the Municipal Authority Board. I hope it is fulfilling for you and exciting. So I just want to say that, number one. Number two, we did receive the resignation letter of Miss Lindsay, and I think we should take action to accept her resignation letter and let the Board of Supervisors then make the appointment to fill Miss Lindsay's seat and remaining term on the Municipal Authority Board. So is there a motion to accept Miss Lindsay's resignation letter?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Judd. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McCormick. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. So for the public that is not in this room, which is kind of amazing, actually, but anyways, they might be on TV listening. So if you are interested in a municipal board of any sort, you should put your you should go on to the township website, find the application, and fill out an application to be on one of the boards in the municipal in the township. The Municipal Authority Board obviously has a vacancy that will be reviewed by the Board of Supervisors for appointment. So if you are interested as a resident of the public, you should put your application in. So any other further board member comments at this point? All right, hearing none, I think we can go to adjournment. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
So moved.